And queen takes f3. Oh, what is going on? Oh, this is going to be a fortress. I just don't see any hopes at all. This is very easy. Just rook back and forth.
Taking chess to the next level.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, yeah. Nothing else to say. Wow.
Creating the future of the sport. Introducing the Champions Chess Tour. 10 months, 10 tournaments. The world's best players online and...
So this is the broadcast tool here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in all its glory. You can see the notation. You can also see the engine evaluation next to each move, and also how long they spend.
What I like is you can make your own moves on the board. You can check the alternatives to what the players did. And even for the moves you make, you get the computer evaluation here.
Fantastic.
I think you get it quicker and better as a premium member, such as yours truly. What I also like, there is a chat function. You can exchange things with people from all over the world. If you want to see something else, let's say you're watching a tournament and you want to see all the games at once, no problem displaying. I have no idea how many games there are, like 128 games at the same time. Can do even more. This is a team competition. You click on multi-board.
That's beautiful.
You can see all the 8 games going on at once.
You can see the games and standings, which I...
What we got? I'll click around. Games and standings here.
Yeah. Analysis, if we click on that tab,
Let's click on it.
You can see that it's a great little graphical illustration. The red line is 0, that is the absolute even mark. And if the white bars go up, the further up they go, the bigger the advantage. And the black bars show a black advantage.
Then there is a database, and here we get the alternatives. And if we click on a move in the database, bam, it gets played on the board.
Fantastic. And then the PGN can even be downloaded.
I like that feature.
Yeah.
Whatever tournament or game you're following, you click it and you open it in the program of your choice.
Yeah, and one of the great things I like to see as well is when we get a video from the playing hall. I like to see them in their seats, nervous, you feel the tension, you feel like you're there, don't you?
Chess is really becoming a spectator's internet sport.
Great that we can see that. I also love to see the fact that we can get in some of our friends to join us during the broadcast, and it's all interactive. That's what we love. And
a lot of overview functions there.
a lot of great functions there, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you take advantage of all of them. Let's get back to the commentary.
Keep tweeting us, hashtag C24Live. We love to hear from you. Ask us anything mainly about Lawrence life, but if you have other questions, they're also welcome.
Also send us anything you like about Jan. Hashtag C24Live.
Absolutely.
Hello everyone, this is Grandmaster Liem. Today I am doing a 1 hour live analysis of one of my favorite games that I have played before. So this game was played last year in 2019 and it was in the Asian Continental Championship. This is a very important tournament for me because I didn't have a very good start and this was in the middle of the tournament, so game 7. So I really needed to win like 2 out of the last 3 games to have a theoretical chance of winning the tournament. And this was game 7. So I needed at least 2.5 points out of 3, and was always difficult. So I started first with this game. My opponent was Maghsoodloo, Grandmaster Maghsoodloo from Iran. He also needed to win this game to fight for the first place. So it was a very exciting and fighting game. So I was black here. He started with c4. I played the English opening with e5. So up to here, everything was normal. This plan with knight ge2 is probably not the most popular way to develop for white. Normally, white try to play like d3 here, knight f3, and then castle, bishop e3, maybe a3, b4 like this. But this plan with e3 is also very interesting. So white is trying to play for f4. For example, if black plays something like bishop e7 here, white could castle, and then f4. So the difference between the knight on e2 and the knight on f3 is that here white has this option to play f4, and if black takes, white takes here, and white has potentially a very strong center with great attacking chances on the king side. So that was his plan. He put the knight to e2, and here I play this move, which is quite interesting. I play g6. It's also not the most popular way to develop. As I said, the most natural move and people play it often is bishop e7. Another alternative is h5. If any of you guys want to look at this opening variation more deeply, this is my suggestion too. So black is just trying to create some counterplay on the king side. And now if castle h4, black has some real threats like hg, bishop h3. I believe the critical line is d4 here, and black can play h4, and then maybe d5, and the knight has to go somewhere, either to e7 or b8. And this is still a very complicated variation. But this is a different story. So in the game, I play g6 with the idea of playing positional chess and put the bishop here on g7 and castle, so that I don't have to worry too much about kingside attack after both sides castle. So here my opponents play castle, bishop g7, and now this plan with f4 is not that threatening anymore. So he played d4, which is a very natural move too. And the idea of d4 is just to develop this bishop, gain more space. So I had to take. He took with the pawn. By the way, taking with the knight is also an option here, because it would be too risky for black to take on d4. Black will lose the castling right, due to rook e1. So best move for black probably would have been castle, and then white can play maybe d5 and then bishop f4. And this is a typical Grunfeld position where black has control of the long diagonal, but white has more space. Black can attack this isolated pawn, but it's not so simple because white will just centralize the rooks, defend the pawns, and play for d6 at some point, or also a4, a5 sometimes. So this, I believe, would have been a little bit better for white. So back to the game, my opponent played this e takes d4, which is also a natural way to develop the pieces. So he had to play d5, attack my knight. My knight went to e5. So we started first like an English opening move order, but if you look at this position, you would easily say that this comes from a Grunfeld opening. So a Grunfeld fianchetto, we usually get these type of positions where where white has the isolated pawn, but more space, and both sides try to develop the pieces, centralize their pieces toward the center. So h3 is a useful move to stop bishop g4. I continue with rook e8. And around this point, my opponents play very strong prophylactic move. So look at how he didn't rush to develop this dash square bishop, but play b3 first to take control of this c4 square. So his bishop can comfortably develop to e3 without worry about knight c4. And here I continue with bishop f5, seems like a natural developing move. Now my opponents play bishop e3. So it's a little bit tricky here because white has some threats like g4 in some lines, or even f4 sometimes, maybe knight e4 first. So it wasn't immediately clear to me what I should do here. So all these pieces, although they are currently nicely placed in the center, they can be pushed away quite quickly. And a move like queen d7 here, maybe my opponents could play something like knight f4, and now he controls d3, so he has this g4, and my bishop would be in very serious trouble here. So I decided to relocate my bishop to the other diagonal by playing bishop d3, hoping to get the bishop back here, and then probably knight can go to d3. So I'm using the fact that right now f4 is not a good move because I have at least bishop takes e2, or I can actually go some knight g4, but bishop takes e2 seems to be okay. And let's say if knight e2, I can go knight c4, and I should be at least not worse, could be a bit better because I'm trading my back knight for this very important bishop, and the long diagonal is mine. So my opponents play a very strong move here, rook e1, getting the rook out of the pin and prepare for knight f4. So I continue with my plan, bishop a6, hoping to get knight to d3. Problem here is white cannot play knight f4 immediately because black can play, for example, knight f3 or knight c4. Probably knight f3 is better, and black is winning the exchange here with the fork. So my opponents play queen d2, which is another prophylactic move, very strong. So now if 93, the rook can go to d1. If not 93, then white has ideas like knight f4, and then this knight will never be able to go to d3 again. So I continue with 93, and at this point I had to say that I was very unhappy with my position. So I feel like I got a decent opening, but the way I played in the middle game was not so great because my pieces just moving around and they didn't really do much there. They actually kind of steps in each other's way and make it harder for the other pieces to develop. So I try to relocate my other knight to d7. So maybe this knight can go back to c5. But at this point, I was not very happy with my position. So I try to continue with some natural move, but it feels like at this point, it's already very pleasant for white. The problem is white is not really rushing anything, and he doesn't have to attack my knight immediately. He can go like knight b5 here, try to close this diagonal, threatening c7 too. Or he can move the queen here and attack the knight too. So I don't really have too many threats here. So I was playing on tricks here, knight e5, hoping for if f4 would be a big mistake because I can go knight g4 and get the bishop on e3. So my opponent continue with a very strong move, like cb5. And this is strong because now f4 is a real threat. This diagonal is covered, so it's threatening f4, and also maybe just queen c2 is also a strong threat with double attack here and here. So at this point, I think it would be fair to say that white had a large advantage, almost winning. However, I like this game not only because I play bad, but because I didn't really lose this game. I managed to come back from this position. So I play here queen d7, attack the knight, a4. Up to here, my opponents play perfectly. Everything was just so well played by my opponent. So I continue. I had to retreat with the knight, but this was already pretty bad. Queen c2, the knight cannot go anywhere. So I play took on b5 and play b6. So here there are a couple of good ways for my opponent to increase the advantage. For example, a move like knight c6 is also very nice move. Trying to attack this knight and maybe also play d6, maybe winning the exchange somehow. So something like knight c6 here. If I take, he can probably take with the b pawn and then play b4, and my knight is almost dead here. So it has to go to a6, but that's a terrible square. And after something like queen c4, queen a4, my knight will have to go back to b8, and look at this knight. It's not happy at all. And something like bishop f4 and d6 is just going to brush black very easily. So around this point is where my opponent started playing a little bit indecisively. So he allowed me to come back. So at this point, he could play something like knight c6 immediately, or maybe b4, knight b7, and knight c6, or even d6 somehow. Should gain a very, very nice advantage here. something like this here, and I probably have to sack the exchange because if I play CD, then this knight is not going to be happy. Then something like Queen E4, Knight C6 is going to be like terrible for black, or even Knight C6 immediately, maybe even F4. I mean, this position basically is just lost for black. I think something like F4 here, Knight G4, take Rook E3, and maybe Queen C6. So something like this can also be winning for white. The thing is that white just need to be a little bit accurate and calculate a little bit. So I would probably have done something like this, but I would assume that white has a very nice advantage and should be able to win this position eventually. So this is one of the things that we chess players we usually make these mistakes. Like when we try to play very positional chess and we had a dominating position, then at some points you still have to deliver that knockout blow. You have to put in some work, to do some calculations necessary to convert that advantage. Otherwise, everything looks so pleasing, so nice, everything is so great, but you're not winning any material, you're not winning anything without concrete play. So this is one of the positions where I started playing a little bit slow, a little bit indecisively, and that allows me to improve my position. So this move BC1 would be the first mistake of the game from White's perspective. So Maghsoodloo is a very talented and strong player, but at this point he probably was enjoying his position too much that he didn't want to look for something concrete. And that's the thing. If you don't put in the work necessary, then your opponents are not gonna just lay down and resign. It's even in a winning position, you still have to win it. So after a5 here, my opponent could still play something like knight c6 and be much better. It's not so easy as before because now it's getting harder to play b4. So he can play knight c6 here, and I probably, well, if I take here, he probably can take dc, then bishop c5, rook d7, and he should still have a very big advantage there. If I don't take, and if I play something like queen d6, I may still be holding, but it doesn't look nice at all. Something like this, 97, and at least he can take e5, trade some pieces, and get a pawn on c7. So anyway, this is another opportunity for white, but he missed that and he took on a6, which was actually very helpful for me because now my knight got back to a6 and I don't have to worry too much about b4. So he continued with making some move here, and my knight came back to c5. Yeah, here he was a little bit indecisive again. So he played some waiting move, hoping for my mistake, but actually with every move, my position improved a little bit by a little bit. And by this point, I was no longer worse anymore. I was no longer losing for sure. Probably not even worse because now suddenly my pieces are on well placed and like I have some serious threats like rook a2, 93 maybe. So my opponent was probably still feeling too optimistic here. So he rearranged the queen to e2, and he still has some threats like d6. So here I remove my rook from e8 and try to put it on the other open diagonal, sorry, open file. And this move is also to play against f4, because if f4 I have knight g4. So my opponent's play b4. This move allow my knight to come back to my dream square of d6. So actually, yeah, until here, after queen c8, I was already liking my position, because if you compare it to like just 10 moves ago, not even 10 moves, it's probably like 8 moves ago, my position was so hopeless. But now all my pieces are in a wonderful square. The rook is active here on the second rank. This rook is potentially active here too. The knight is well placed. So at this point, I no longer was worried about my position. He has only one threat here. Go knight b5, trading the knight and playing for d6 or bishop b6. So my next move was to prevent that. With queen d7, stopping knight b5. And here it's not so simple for white to move any rook, because something like rook a1 would allow black to take and then put the knight on c4. So white always have to control all these squares. So he continued with bishop f4. Then I play prophylactic move h6, threatening g5 also. But the idea of h6 is also kind of to provoke white to play h4. And then I play h5. So now I get this square on my knight. So at this point, I was already quite sure that I was better. And the problem is it's hard for white to find a useful move, because my knight is coming to g4, f2 might be weakened. Knight can come to e4 too. Rook potentially can come there. So at this point, this is already very difficult to play for white, especially psychologically, when you consider that he was winning just 10 moves ago, and suddenly everything changed. So after knight g4, white had to play bishop h3 to pin my queen. And here is one of my proudest move in the game, where I play this. Well, not exactly this move, but I mean the couple of next move will show you guys that black has a very serious attack. So I continue with rook e to e2. Continue putting pressure on f2. So f3 was the only move. And then here, I could have played a better move. I could have played queen to e8 here. That would be a very good move. The reason is that, well, first of all, I get my queen out of the pin, and I'm threatening things like knight e3 or rook f2, even knight h2. So if he takes my knight, then I can go like queen e4, and it is hopeless for white here, because the simple threat is just rook h2, rook h1, checkmate, and white has no defense on the second rank. So something like rook e1 here also loses to bishop e4, knight e4, queen d4, king h1, rook h2, checkmate. So queen e8 would have been a very nice way to win the game. but I didn't manage to see that. So I played this f5, which I believe is kind of a natural move because I see that, okay, if it takes my knight, I takes back. The bishop cannot retreat to g2 because I just take the bishop and I should be better. So white doesn't have a useful move here, and with this move f5, I also get out of the pin, and I'm threatening knight h2 as well. So my opponents play this move rook e1, trying to reduce pressure on the second rank by trading off the rooks. So actually, yeah, after I reanalyze this game, after I check this game after the actual game, I realized that at this point, after rook e1, it's actually a false draw if both sides play accurately. But so I miss a win there with a queen e8 move. But here, practically, it still feels like black is doing very well here. Well, first of all, I have to move the rook somewhere. I cannot go knight h2 because then white can simply take rook takes e2 and white is actually winning there. Like here, rook e2, knight f1, rook a2, and the knight is lost here. So I cannot do that. So I have to move the rook somewhere. And I calculated this variation very nicely. Rook f2, forcing queen d3, and then knight h2, threatening knight takes f3. And it feels to me that that white doesn't have a defense here. But actually, I missed this, and my opponent probably missed that too. That instead of queen d3, he had a better move. He had f takes g4, rook takes. If I take rook f1, he can take bishop f1, and then the idea is just to go rook e7 here, kind of trapping my queen. My queen is in a very bad shape here. So I can go queen f7, but it's not getting out anytime soon. So he can still go like bishop e6, cd, and then rook, or maybe rook e7 immediately. Rook e7, queen d5. I mean, probably white doesn't need to rush with any of that. White can simply play something like g5 because black cannot take yet due to knight e7, and white's pieces are perfectly coordinated. So this is still very unclear position. However, we were both low on time here after rook f2, and queen d3 just seems like such a natural move that white had to play. And after queen d3, knight h2, my opponents played rook e7. This is on in his plan, and also was my anticipation. So at this point, this is one of the most critical moments in the game. So if you guys are watching this, maybe take a minute, or if you are watching it after my live session, pause the video and try to think, what should black do here? Black to play and win. So I'll give you guys some time. Yes, this is a very difficult position to calculate, but there are a couple of things that should be obvious that black cannot take on f3 immediately. For example, take, then white can just sack the queen, and black is down material here actually. So rook f3, rook d7, and black is not getting any checkmate. If black moves the queen back, then white can take on g7, king g7, and queen d4, and then queen takes f2. And it's still quite unclear here because after this, king f2, the knight is trapped here. If white can get the knight, he actually has 3 pieces against the queen, which is pretty good for white. So it is certainly black's attack is over, and black risks being even worse here. So the problem is black really needs to create a mating net against white's king. But how do we achieve that? So in the game, I realized that the idea, I got the correct idea. I took on c6. And the idea of that is to eliminate the piece that is defending d4. So the follow-up was take here, and bishop d4. And now black has a lot of threats. The most direct one is rook f1, double check, and mate. And white doesn't have time to take on d4 because of knight f3, and then rook h2 checkmate. And if white puts a piece on e3, like a bishop or a knight, sorry, bishop or a rook, then also black has takes f3. For example, rook e3 here, I can take on f3, rook f3, and then rook g2. Double check, and this is also made. King h1, rook h2, or king f1, rook g1. This is all made. And I thought this was a win for me. Also, I calculated this variation with rook g7, king takes g7, d takes c6, knight takes f3, queen takes f3, rook takes f3, bishop takes here, c takes, c7, and I have this rook takes g3. This is very important because now king f1, I have rook takes h3, threatening mate, and c8 doesn't count with check. So this is actually winning here for black, I believe. Well, because king g1, I have, what do I have here? Yeah, I have just rook a8 defending. So I give my rook back for this pawn, but I got a winning rook endgame with a lot of pawns. So I calculated all of this, and I thought I was winning. Yeah, this line is totally winning. If white take on c6 with the rook, it's the same thing. Let's still take on f3, take here, rook c7, and then I have knight f7, I believe. Yeah, knight f7, bishop e5, king, was it king g8 or king f8? I'm trying to remember what I calculated there. Probably king f8. Yeah, probably king f8 and rook c8, king e7, rook c7, king e8, rook c8, and knight d8. And this is a win because white doesn't have bishop f6 due to rook g3, and if bishop c7, black can just go king d7, and black wins material and the game. However, I make a mistake in my calculation. After queen takes c6, d takes c6, bishop d4, what did I miss here? So white had this move, queen b3 check. I went king f8. This is the only good move. King h8 is not good because white can, king h8, I think white can play some bishop e5 maybe. Bishop e5, take, rook e5. Knight f3, rook f3. Well, that still looks good for black, but maybe white has something else. Maybe king h1. King h1, knight f3. Yeah, I don't remember what was wrong with king h8, but I feel like king f8 was the more accurate. Oh yeah, yeah. So I remember now. If I play king h8, then white can actually play king h1, knight takes f3, and then just queen takes a2 here. Queen takes a2, rook takes a2, and then bishop g2. And white stop the mate here on h2, and white is up an exchange. Not to mention that this threat, rook c7 and bishop d6, are both winning. So that's why I had to play king f8. So keep this rook under attack. So the problem now is if white play the same thing with king h1, which my opponent did, knight f3, queen a2, rook a2. If now bishop g2, then I can simply take e7. That's the difference between king f8 and king h8. And if my opponents here play, something like bishop h6, then I can take bishop g5, king can go back here, bishop h6, bishop g7, and this is a win for black. Take, and knight f3 is still coming, and this is a deadly threat. So, however, when I calculated this queen c6 line, I saw everything until king f8, and I thought black would win this position. However, I missed a very beautiful move from white. That is queen a2, rook a2, and then this move, rook to e2. So white give back the rook, but not on e7, but on e2. The point is white is gaining a tempo. But so let's say rook takes e2, white has bishop takes d6, and now I don't have time for cd. If I take cd, bishop g2, now white defends against rook h2, and suddenly c7, c8 is a huge threat, and black cannot stop both, cannot keep both the knight and stop the pawn. So black has to actually give up the exchange here with something like rook e7, but this is not what I want because this is only white can win this position. So let's go back to the moment. I will show you the rest of the game in a little bit, but let's go back to the moment where I asked you guys about this. There was only one move for black to win, and it was not queen c6. Queen c6 actually wasn't winning, it was just a draw. But there was a move that could have won for black. So the best move there, and it surprised me because I actually my move queen c6 was with the same idea, but I could have done it immediately, which is bishop d4. I didn't have to take the knight. Why? Because if the knight takes d4, then I can take the rook, and I'm still up the exchange. If queen d4, knight f3 is mate, so white actually does not have too many options there. So, oops. So here, after bishop d4, it actually is totally winning here for black. The threat is simply rook f1 or knight f3. So something like king h1, knight f3, there's no defense, bishop g2 just take. So the best move there for white would be knight d4, but then queen d7 should be winning for black. White doesn't have too many moves here. Although the knight is not ideally placed on h2, it's still a knight, and white's pieces are not coordinating very well with each other. The best move white could do here is probably queen e3, but eventually it should be losing. Like take, knight f3, knight f3, rook f3, bishop f4, and I can just move the rook somewhere, like rook d3 or rook b3. And the two rooks are definitely stronger than two rooks and knights, definitely stronger than rook and two bishops here. So I missed that bishop d4 move, which would have been my proudest moment in the game. But when I played queen takes c6, I thought it was also a nice move, and I thought it was winning too. So unfortunately, as I showed you guys, this allowed my opponent to have this intermediate move, very important, with rook to e2. This is an improvement because if you play bishop g2, I would go king e7, bishop f3, and then at least um, my king is active here, and I can play something like maybe knight e4, maybe knight e4, or yeah, knight e4 must be a good move. So I'm threatening knight f2, knight d3, so he has to maybe take, or rook e1. But rook e1, I have bishop f2 or bishop c3. So rook e1 is not a good move. Bishop f2 here, and I get a pawn on g3. So he probably has to take, and now if bishop c7, I may have something like e3, and my pawn can be dangerous too. So fe, and if rook e1, for example, maybe I can even go rook a1. Maybe I can go for this. Yeah, I think a1 is not bad, but e3 is also a very promising endgame. Like take, rook e3, king d6, and my king are close to these pawns, so I have really good winning chances here, I think. The problem is, as I said, he had rook e2, bishop d6, and then bishop c2. So I couldn't take on d6. I had to play king to e8, bishop e2, And now I continue with knight to e1. So the bishop doesn't have too many squares to go, only f1. And then I went to 93. So I don't have time to retreat the rook because then bishop c7 and this c pawn will be too dangerous. So I had to allow the trade of the rooks with 93, take the rook. And then the bishop had to move bishop a6. I still cannot take the pawn because of c7, but I had king d8 to defend the pawn, and that's why king f8 was important. If I play king f7, then that line wouldn't work anymore. Like you guys can see here, one can just simply go bishop c4 and then bishop c7. My king doesn't get to d8 on time, and that would be lost for black because this knight is also not going anywhere. So I had to play king e8 and then go on the way to this king d8. So at the end of the line, how do we evaluate this position? So black is up a pawn. Black is up a pawn, but white has bishop pair. It objectively should be about equal, but it's still a fight, and we continue the game. Bishop f4, my knight retreated back to a2. Take b4. So he sacked both the pawns. Well, that was kind of false for him because if he plays like b5, then his bishop is gonna be stuck there forever. And I can go like knight b4, bishop b7, knight b3. This bishop is probably bishop f6 is more accurate than knight d3, so not to allow any check here, and then my knight can maybe come that way. Or maybe my knight can try to harass this pawn somehow. Yeah, on even 93 should be okay too, or 95. So something like this, if I manage to trade the dark square bishops, I should be able to win this because b5 is very weak and my king should be able to get there. So anyway, my opponent's playing with the correct plan, bishop c4. He sacked both the pawns, but he went after my king side pawns. And now he also got his own pass pawn here. So objectively should be around equal, drawish, but my bishop is the good one defending the long diagonal. So we continue fighting. I started pushing my pawns. His bishop pair advantage gave him very serious drawing chances. The only thing he had to be careful is not to allow me to get into a favorable opposite color bishop endgame. So something like h6 here, probably it may be good, but it looks risky because, well, I don't know if it's enough for draw. Like this bishop will control h8, which is the most important square, and my king will go to c5. The pawns are going to b3, b4, and b3. So it may still be a draw, but it doesn't feel so simple yet. So in the game, my opponents play bishop g6, try to attack my pawn here. So I play knight e7. Actually, king e6 was a better move, and just trying to push my pawns. I guess I didn't like some g4 move here. And I thought like if I allow him to trade that way, his bishop will have good control of this diagonal and it's gonna be more difficult to win. So I play knight e7 and then I decided to put my bishop back on h8. So I was just trying to push my pawn to b4. I was ready to give up this f5 pawn with this, but I was hoping that my pawns would be faster on the queen side. So here my opponents play king to e3, I play b4, h6, b3. So here's this is the last critical point of the game. So do you guys think white should take on d6 now? And then take on f5? The problem is that white has to do something here. If white, well, black is threatening b2, so he doesn't have time to play a move like f7 or king e2. So he had to take, but this is, okay, he took, and he took on f5, which seems like a very natural move. But actually, bishop takes f5 is a losing move for white. It may look so simple, this cap endgame, when both sides have absolutely equal material and it's very limited material anyway, and it feels like both sides pawns are not going anywhere. But this move actually loses the game because my king gets to the queen side much faster with king c5. And let's say, and this is an endgame that you guys should know, that, I mean, any chess player should know that only if white can get the king back to b1 in time, then white can draw. But in this case, white doesn't get it in time. So for example, king e2, here, black can play bishop f6, king d1, then c3, then king b4, king c. Now king c1 is not a good move because of bishop c5, take the pawn, and then eventually black will win by playing c3. The bishop has to stay on this diagonal, and then black's king will just go the long way to d2 and then play c2. So, and if white's king stay here on d1, then black will just eventually put the king here, a3, b2, and then play c3. So a move like h7 now, then black has king a3, king c1, and white is just a one tempo too slow because now black has king a2. And this is very important because now g4, for example, black can just go b2, b1, and win this. g5 just go back here, and then pawn will go c3, c2, c1. So problem here is instead of bishop f5, white really needed to get the king to b1 and stop black's king from getting to a2. So a move like king e2 was absolutely necessary. And if king c5, king b1, king b4, king c1, king a3, king b1, just in time to stop that. That would have been a draw. But my opponent played bishop takes f5, which is a very natural move. And here I also play a natural move, but that was a huge blunder too. So I play bishop f6. Seems like a natural move to get the bishop out of the way of the pawns and preparing for this. But after king d2, he got um, the king to b1. Well, not immediately. As I said, if king c1 now, bishop g5, bishop x6 wins. But he was in time to play h7 and then king c1 and king b1. And this is a draw because there's nothing black can do. Black cannot really go with the king to d2. Like if I go king c5, white can go king d1, king d4. White will just stop the king there with, well, one can just wait here, I guess. Also just g4, king e3, and just wait. And anytime black plays c2, white can just take that pawn. So it was absolutely critical to play with the king to c5 here. And well, king b4 or bishop f6, same thing, king b4, king b1, and then bishop f6. So black needed to play this move to prevent white's king from crossing to c1, because there's bishop g5, and if h7, then king a3, and black is in time to get to a2. By the way, that move bishop f6 was necessary because if black played king a3 immediately, maybe white has some bishop e6. Well, right now I think bishop e6 still doesn't save white, I guess, because bishop e6 b2. But yeah, so probably king a3 also wins. But bishop f6 is also an easy way to prevent king c1, and then black has king a3, king a2, and then b2, b1. So I chose this game to analyze today because it shows it was not the most accurate game that I've ever played. In fact, I missed a couple of brilliant moves to win. First is the bishop d4 move here. And the second one, well, the first was actually queen e8 here. That would have been a lot easier. Second missed opportunity is bishop d4. And the third one was in the end game, where instead of bishop f6 that I play, I could have won with king c5, the end game here. So I actually missed 3 chances to win this game, but from my opponent's perspective, he also missed a couple of very good chances. Well, his chances are a little bit less clear. Like around this point, he could have played knight c6 or b4, or here also knight c6 or d6 here. Both are pretty good and should be winning for white. But in general, I think it's a very fighting game, very exciting game, and I've learned a lot from this game too. And I think it's important to learn from the games that we don't win, because oftentimes we make mistakes in these games. So for me, it was a very good game to learn from. Again, not a perfect game because I played the middle game not very well. I got a losing position, but then I came back, fought, and had a winning position. So it was a very back and forth game, but I really like this game. Very fighting game from both of us. So yeah, that is my live analysis for today. Please let me know what you think about this game in your comments below. And thank you everyone for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys in my next session.